What's up, YouTube people? It's your boy Patty McNinja, and I know that I just did a video about the FTC's injunction against the acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft. That was a mouthful, but we got another piece of information that I thought was objectively hilarious, and I wanted to talk about it. So without further ado, let's rock. In 2022, Sony had revenues of almost $83 billion. That's billions with a B. I bring that up because this is obviously a giant corporation that has billions and billions of dollars at their disposal. And we got this hysterical scene out of the FTC trial the other day where PlayStation chief Jim Ryan supplied a document that had redacted information on it. And I use the air quotes because somebody in Sony, again, a billion-dollar corporation, just used a simple Sharpie to cross off some of the information. And you're probably thinking, what's the big deal? I use a Sharpie all the time, and that's probably what Sony was thinking as well, but they completely underestimated the internet and people's fervor for this information, because as it turns out, when you scan those documents, you can mess around with the contrast, and if they're just redacted with a Sharpie, you can still tell what the information is. And so the internet was basically able to make out all that information that Sony was trying to hide. And obviously this is very embarrassing for Sony. I find it hilarious, but they're obviously embarrassed. So much so that they actually scrambled after they figured this out, that they tried to remove the document, and they forgot the number one rule of the internet, which is the internet never forgets. Once it's out there, it's out there. It really honestly wasn't very hard for me to find screenshots of this document for this video. Basically just an easy Google search and I was able to find it. So it's out there. And as I mentioned in my last video, I do kind of find in general the business side of video games to be quite boring. I have enjoyed this trial in particular because we've gotten a lot of information, including the information I'm about to discuss here in a little bit. Because of this trial, we would have never known any of this information otherwise. So I have enjoyed it to that extent. Therefore, I'm not going to go through every single little thing that we learned through Sharpie Gate. I'm just going to hit the highlights or lowlights depending on if you work at Sony or not. Let's kick it off with a few video game budgets. It was sort of revealed through this document that Horizon Forbidden West cost $212 million over the course of 5 years, and that was done with 300 employees. The Last of Us Part 2 cost $220 million with around 200 employees. And if you listen to my podcast, The Nerd You're Looking For, you know that along with being a pretty big gamer, that's obviously why I do this channel, I am also a huge movie nerd. And the rule of thumb with movie budgets is that you double the production budget for their total budget, and that includes marketing and so on and so forth. And I would assume, I don't know this for sure, but I would assume the same rule applies to video games. So if you do a little bit of math, between these two games, Sony spent roughly $800 million between the two games. And if you do a quick Google search, Forbidden West has sold over 8 million copies, and The Last of Us Part 2 has sold over 10 million copies. So if you just, again, combine those two things, do a little bit of math, they have made over $1 billion, which is not too bad, especially considering Forbidden West was kind of overshadowed by Elden Ring. So you would have expected, if it came out in a little bit different period of time and Elden Ring hadn't really taken over the gaming community for a while, that it would have actually done better. But of course, video game budgets wasn't the only thing that was discussed in this document. In my past Microsoft video, I talked a lot about Call of Duty. Some might argue too much, but Call of Duty has played a huge part in this trial, and especially in this redacted document. Sony tries to make the argument that Call of Duty potentially becoming an Xbox exclusive would really hurt them. It was revealed in this document that in 2021, 14 million users spent 30% of their time playing Call of Duty, which I think I put myself in this particular category. But there was also 6 million users spent 70% of their time playing Call of Duty, and a whopping 1 million users spent 100% of their time just playing Call of Duty. The document goes on to state that the game alone was worth $1.5 billion globally for Sony. The value of Call of Duty isn't super surprising to me. I knew that it was a huge franchise. What really is surprising to me is that 1 million user number that only play Call of Duty. And I want to be perfectly clear, don't get me twisted. Gatekeeping is for assholes. If you play games, whether that's on PlayStation 5, PC, mobile, Nintendo Switch, whatever, you are a gamer, and don't let anybody tell you differently. And I don't ever want to discourage anyone from playing what you want to play. Just play whatever. I have nothing against Call of Duty. I play Call of Duty myself, but the fact that there was 1 million people in 2021 that only played Call of Duty means that there was 1 million people that missed out on a lot of great games. Again, I don't want to lose track on why we know this information. Somebody in Sony, again, a billion-dollar company, goofed it. Just completely shit the bed and used a Sharpie marker on this document, and we were able to learn all this information. Another quick search on Amazon, and I was able to find actual redaction markers that are made for this exact purpose. And I was able to find a 6-pack for $29.99, which if you do some quick math, that's $5 per marker, which is very expensive for a marker. But again, Sony made revenues of almost $83 billion in 2022. So it seems like it would be a worthwhile investment for them. So the moral of this story is that yes, we've all had bad days at work, myself included, but I've never had such a bad day at work that I've given away very sensitive business information out to the internet. So I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one. But as always, those are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours in the comments down below. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that like button, as the kids say. Consider subscribing. If you do subscribe, ding that bell. That way you get notified every time I post a video. I try to post weekly gaming related content. So if you enjoy that type of stuff, definitely consider subscribing and dinging that bell. But until next video, take it easy. What's up, YouTube people? It's your boy Patty McNinja, and this is my boy Yoshi, aka Kitty Boy, and we were just talking, and we agree that since you made it this far in the video, you might as well subscribe. You wouldn't want to disappoint Kitty Boy, would you?